أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عبد الله ورسوله. أما بعد, we thank the Almighty Allah for another opportunity to be here. We thank Him for His mercies that He's bestowed upon us. We bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except the Almighty Allah. We also bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and His messenger. Today is Friday, I believe the 8th day of Safar, 1445 years after the hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which corresponds, I believe, with the 25th day of August 2023. Sometimes that's the language that they understand.
Yeah. You want just tell me when I tell them not to waste water there, so that's why I don't like to come here. That's the tell me.
You waste water. Did you buy the water? So in the last session, we spoke mainly about just a question and answer section. That was last week Friday. And today we're going to look at Faslun fi TAYAMMUM, which is dry ablution in the absence of water. You know, sometimes we might be in a state whereby there's no water. So, and it's time for Salah. What are the rulings concerning that? And it's mainly for people who are traveling using, dry ablution, because the idea is that if you're at home, and then you're going to have easy access to water. If you're at home, you're going to have easy access to water. So he says, Faslun fi TAYAMMUM. This is the section on Tayammum, which is dry ablution with pure earth. He said, وَيَتَيَمَّمُ الْمُسَافِرُ فِي غَيْرِ مَعْصِيَةٍ. If a person is traveling, and then the travel is not that of disobedience to the Almighty Allah, the person is allowed to do dry ablution. Same way, if the person is traveling and then the travel is not that of disobedience to the Almighty Allah, the person can shorten the prayers and then combine them. So you can shorten Zuhr and Asr and then combine Maghrib and shorten Isha together. So for example, if you're going to a family visit in New York, this is not a disobedience to Almighty Allah. So you can combine Zuhr and Asr and Maghrib and Isha. But if somebody is going for a music concert, some Muslims, modern day Muslims, very, very advanced, progressive Muslims, we are traditional Muslims and conservatives and fundamentalists. So we are not open-minded. So those Muslims who are open-minded, my sister understands the language. So they're going to go for a music concert in New York. No. They can't combine the prayers, they can shorten them. Because the rukhsa, the discount by the Almighty Allah on this is for those who are on a journey that is not a journey of disobedience to the Almighty Allah. So the number one statement today is وَيَتَيَمَّمُ الْمُسَافِرُ فِي غَيْرِ مَعْصِيَةٍ. A traveling person can do tayammum for a journey that does not entail disobedience to the Almighty Allah. This doesn't mean that in travel you don't disobey the Almighty Allah, but when you are at home you can disobey the Almighty Allah. No. In this particular, scenario or scene, the Almighty Allah has given us, discounts, as I said earlier on. So if you are traveling, you shorten Zuhur and Asr and combine them. You pray Maghrib, exact 3 rakats, but then you shorten You shorten Isha. So this is for people who are in a travel that is not disobedient to the Almighty Allah. What about, I'm on a business trip. Fine, it depends on what kind of business you're involved in. So if your business involves haram, then you are on a trip that is disobedience to the Almighty Allah. But if your business is you're going to buy goods, maybe you're traveling outside, going to Europe, going to order some goods to bring, and then these goods are halal goods. You have a shop here in Philadelphia, maybe you have an African market, you want to go to Africa, go get some African stuff and bring it. There's nothing wrong with that. It is allowed. So long as the journey that you're going to do entails what? Obedience to the Almighty Allah. He said, وَالْمَرِيضُ لِفَرِيضَةٍ. And the sick person can also do tayammum for a compulsory prayer. So the 5 daily prayers that we have, if someone is sick, they cannot get close to water because of the illness, they are bedridden. Yes, they can do tayammum for salah. That's one. Number two, the person has a skin challenge. If they apply water on the skin, it's going to exacerbate whatever illness that they have. They can do what? They can do tayammum. So this is allowed. Or the person has an injury. It's not that the person is sick, but the person has an injury. If the person uses water and water enters into the injured place, the person is going to what? Die. Then the person must do tayammum. There's a hadith where they went to war, and then one of the Sahabi was hit in the head, and then he had an injury on the head. And then he slept, and then he had to, when he slept, he had nocturnal emissions, and then he had to, do ghusl the following morning. So he asked 2 of the Sahaba, of his friends, that this is the situation I'm in. They said, no, you must bath. And then he bathed, and then water ended the injury, and then that caused his death. And the Prophet Muhammad said, قَتَلُوهُ قَتَلَهُمُ اللَّهُ. They've killed him. May the curse of the Almighty Allah be upon them. Why didn't they ask when they didn't know? So from this hadith, we can infer that someone necessarily might not be ill or terminally sick, but because they have an injury on the part of the body that if water goes cause a lot of damage to them, then the Sharia has given them the rukhsa, the permission, the flexibility, the discount of what? Of doing tayammum. And every other aspect of the deen. Because there's a lot of flexibility in the deen. There's a lot of easiness in the deen. If the original thing is going to cause you harm, there is a lesser level that you can go to. So that is why if standing to pray in salah, and then you have a condition, you can't stand to pray in salah, sit and pray. If you can't sit, lean on the wall. If you can't lean on the wall, lie down and pray. All these positions are allowed due to the circumstances and the situations and the conditions you find yourself in. So it's very, very important we understand that there is a lot of flexibility and easiness in the deen. Let's not force it on people. Let's not force it on people. He said, أَوْ نَافِلَةٍ, or for any nafila or optional salah, the sick person can do tayammum. He says, وَيَتَيَمَّمُ الْحَاضِرُ الصَّحِيحُ لِلْفَرَائِدِ إِذَا خَافَ حُرُوجَ وَقْتِهَا. He said, we talked about someone who is traveling, right? Now we came to speak about someone who is sick. Okay, now let's come and talk about someone who is healthy and the person is in the city. The first person is someone who is traveling. The second person is someone who is sick. The third person is someone who is well and then the person has not traveled. And then it is time for salah, but then there is no access to water. And then he or she is concerned about the time of salah. Maybe you come to the masjid and then the taps are not flowing. And then maybe you leave about 15 minutes, from the masjid. If you're going to drive back home and perform wudu and then drive back to the masjid, will have prayed and then even locked up the masjid. So you're concerned about the time for salah. You are not traveling, you are well, but then access to water has become something very difficult for you, looking at the situations and then the conditions, and then you can perform tayammum. The only reason here is that you are concerned about the time of salah. And all of us must be concerned about the time of salah, because praying is mandatory in its time. It's very, very important. The only difference between males and females in Islam concerning salah is that for us the males, it is compulsory for us to come to the masjid. But for you the sisters, if you want to come to the masjid, nurun ala nur, is light upon light. But then it is not compulsory upon you as it is compulsory upon us males to come to the masjid. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in an authentic hadith, I think in Tirmizi or Abu Dawud, says that if he had his way, he would have made someone else to lead the salah, and then he will get fire and go to the homes of the men who do not come to the Salatul Jama'ah and then burn their houses for not coming. So, if you are concerned about the time, you are in the city, or you are somewhere where, you know, maybe you're going downtown, you don't have access to water, maybe some issues, but then you are in the city, you're well, but then access to water becomes a difficulty, then you can what? You can do tayammum. And then he says, وَلَا يَتَيَمَّمُ الْحَاضِرُ الصَّحِيحُ لِنَافِلَةٍ وَلَا جُمُعَةٍ وَلَا جَنَازَةٍ إِلَّا إِذَا تَعَيَّنَتْ عَلَيْهِ الْجَنَازَةِ. He said, the well person, the person who is well, and there is also, you know, a citizen, a resident in the city, cannot perform tayammum for a nafila or jum'ah or janaza. This is what, you know, the Malikiya, you know, say, but then, you know, there is difference of opinion concerning that, but let's not indulge ourselves in that. So Jum'ah, no tayammum for Jum'ah, according to the Malikiya school of thought. Okay, what if I don't have access to water? It is time for Jum'ah. Shouldn't I go to Jum'ah? Yes. So we go back to the original caveat of if you do not have access to water, then tayammum becomes an open door for you to what? To utilize. And then janaza. And then he says, he gives an exception, illa idha ta'ayyanat alayhi al-janaza, except when the janaza becomes an obligation upon him. For example, in janaza, maybe you lost a sister, you lost, you know, you lost a parent, and janaza, you want to pray the janaza on them, then it is allowed for you to use tayammum for that. Any questions before we move on?
What about
Eid. Eid also needs wudu. So if you don't have access, let's say for example, you get to the Eid grounds with your wudu, and then, you know, one way or the other, your wudu becomes invalid. It's time for Eid prayers. Yes, and there's no water there, you do tayammum and then you pray your Eid. Sometimes some people go to Eid grounds without performing ablution. No. That salah is a salah. And it needs all the necessary conditions to be met as every other salah. And that is so important that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered the women who are in their monthly visitor to come to the Eid grounds. Even if they are not going to pray, they can stand aside because of the barakah that descends on that day. So it's very, very important. So for those who are in the state of prayer, when they go to the Eid grounds and one way or the other, their wudu is nullified, then they can what? They can do tayammum if there's no access to water. And then they what? They pray the Eid prayer. Allah A'lam. Allah knows best. Any other question before we move on? Now.
Regarding sitting down and praying, after you work all day, obviously you chose to work, does that constitute you sitting down and praying?
Sitting down to pray should only be necessitated when you have, you know, a serious medical situation. But the fact that I went and worked all day, I worked for 10 hours, 12 hours, you went to look for your money, Allah doesn't care about that. Excuse my language. So you can stand and work and pray because you stood all those 12 hours to get that money. I always tell people, Muslims, that if you want to use, you know, whatever discounts, whatever flexibility, whatever easiness that the Almighty Allah has given us in the Sharia, I always want you to ask yourself this question. If the Almighty Allah asks me on the day of Qiyamah, why did I choose to do it this way? Will you be able to convince him? If you just have a sore feet, and funny enough, sometimes we go through all those long hours of walking and trekking. We only begin to feel the pain when we come to pray. And after Salah, we can go into the kitchen and cook fast, standing on our feet. We prepare something, and then come. And if it's time for Isha, they say, my feet. But no, you stood for 20 minutes to prepare the dinner. Shaitan has a lot of ways of trying to distract us. So I always use this myself, as a yardstick for measuring that anytime something like that happens. For example, when we come from the summer school, sometimes you go to the park with the kids here, to play, and then you come for Zuhur, you're tired, my feet are all sore. But I remember, I've been walking around all day, coming to pray, and then you start feeling your feet start wriggling, and you're like, no. Then after Salah, I have to go around again, chase the kids, make sure they are intact and stuff like that. So sometimes Shaitan will want to use, because he knows the Almighty Allah loves us. And Almighty Allah created us, and then He knows who we are. So He gave us these flexibilities. And Shaitan wants to use those flexibilities also against us. So it's very, very important that we use that yardstick, that let's ask ourselves all the time that if I'm sitting down to pray, and Almighty Allah asks me why, and I tell Him because I have sore feet, it doesn't add up. But then maybe the elderly ones amongst us, originally if they go for ruku, it's a problem. So they sit down and then they pray, and that's it. People have medical conditions and stuff like that, so people are ill, no problem, you're ill. It's not because you went the whole day walking up and down, but you are genuinely sick. Then there's no problem with that. You can sit, you can lie, and you can pray in that situation. And may Almighty Allah accept our ibadah, and then forgive us our shortcomings. Any other questions before we move on? Now.
Pray in the flight.
Now. How does it go? Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So Imam Shafi'i, can you imagine Imam Shafi'i? He died. Is it 204 Hijrah? Let's say Imam Shafi'i died about 2,200 years ago, and Imam Shafi'i said that, let's imagine a Muslim is flying and then it is time for Salah. What does he do? Imagine this guy, 1,200 years ago, thinking about Muslims flying. He says we pray like that in the flying state. So it is not an excuse that since I'm flying, so I can't pray. No. You go to the washroom, you perform your wudu. If there's a space in the flight where you can speak to the air hostesses, the crew, if they can give you a space to pray, fine. If they can't, you sit in your seat and then you pray. Wherever the flight faces, whether the flight faces the Qibla or not, you can turn and face the Qibla, and then you turn normally, and then you continue your prayer. If finding the Qibla is problematic, you sit in your seat, Allah Akbar, sitting posture, and then you pray, because you have a different situation. The condition and your situation calls for that. Same way you are traveling in the bus. So maybe the stops are 5 minutes. You can't say you're going to use the washroom, perform your wudu, and go and pray and come back. By the time you come back, the bus is already gone. So what you can do is, the small time that you have, you rush to the washroom, you perform your wudu, you come and sit in the bus, and then you pray. Do not delay the salah because you are traveling, because you are sitting in the bus or in the flight. Pray, because that's the situation you find yourself in. This situation is battered by the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where they said the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sometimes prays on his on his camel. But then the caveat there was that he does that for only nafila. And what he does is that he turns his camel to face the Qibla. When he does Allah Akbar, then he turns his camel back to the direction that he's traveling. So for example, if he's traveling in this direction, the Qibla is behind him, he turns his camel, he says his Takbirat Ihram Allah Akbar, and then he turns his camel to face his direction. The camel is traveling, and then he's praying. this is authentic from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even though it is a nafila by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when we find ourselves in long haul flights, you're going to be in the flight for 13 hours, you're going to be in the flight for 15 hours. Will you delay salah for 15 hours? The moment you land, even when you land at the airport, you're going to look for your bags, you're going to go through security, you're not going to look for your car to get home. That's going to be extra 17 hours. You've not prayed. It's not advisable. So the best thing is in the salah, if it is night. I believe the Saudi airlines they've now started having, prayer sessions in the sections in their flights. So you can see that it's something that is doable. So if you do not have enough space in the flight, or the crew do not have space for you, you're in your seat, Allah Akbar, nobody is going to tell you, hey, why are you doing this? I hope we get it. So don't delay the salah. I quite remember last year we were going for Hajj with a group of people, in the flight. We left Accra, I think, in the afternoon. We were going to land in Cairo late in the night. And I prayed my Maghrib and Isha in the flight, going to time. I prayed. When we landed at the airport, they were running, looking for the prayer. Sheikh, let's go and pray. I said, which prayer? And the only prayer I'm waiting for now is Fajr. You guys, Maghrib and Isha. I said, no. Where did you? I said, in the flight. And you didn't tell us. I said, you didn't know? I said, okay, no problem. So they're going to pray. Yes, so what you can do now is, that's a very good question. What you can do now is, when you are in the flight, before you move, you calculate. Okay, you calculate. For example, if you live in America, you're going to Europe or you're going to Africa, and you leave here around 12, or let's say 10 in the morning. The flight always has time. The flight always has a time for you. It's on your screen, especially long haul flights. You have a screen. The time is there. If it is 12:10 at the place that you are in the sky, it tells you it is 12:10. And you know very well that Zuhur is within that time frame, 12:30, 1:30, that time frame. Everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world, the Zuhur is at that particular time. I hope you get it. Or you don't understand. Zuhur prayer everywhere in the world is Zawal al-Shams, from midday going down. That's Zuhur's time. So even if you are America, it is midday, it is time for Zuhur. Or you don't get it. The time for Zuhur is midday, the moment the sun starts to descend. So from 12 in the afternoon, and the moment the sun turns this way to start descending towards sunset from midday, that is the time for Zuhur. Let me explain. The time for Zuhur, the Zuhur prayer, is min zawal shams, from midday. And midday differs. Sometimes depending on the situation or the time zone, sometimes midday is around 11:30. Sometimes midday is around 12. So the moment it's midday, and then you can see that the sun has turned towards starting to descend to sunset, then Zuhur is in. What don't you understand by this statement? Because I can still see some puzzling faces.
Maybe the phone can call prayer when you're in.
Yes, I know, but what I'm going to explain is that the time for Zuhur
It's between 12:30 and 1:30.
Yes.
Between those windows.
Between those windows, it is time for Zuhur. So wherever you find yourself in the world,
you can pray at 1:20.
yes. So wherever you find yourself in the world, that's the time for Zuhur. So midday, it's when it's midday here, it is time for Zuhur. If it is midday in Chicago, it is time for Zuhur. If it is midday in Seattle, it is time for Zuhur for them. If it is midday in Japan, it's time for Zuhur for them. So the universal time for Zuhur is midday. So wherever you find yourself, and then it is midday, and then the sun has started turning, then the time for Zuhur is there. I hope you get it. When it is sunset, it is time for what? Maghrib. So if you're at a place and then it is sunset, it's Maghrib. I hope you get it. So, and then we know normally what time Maghrib is depending on the seasons and then what the places. For example, those of us who are coming from Africa, Maghrib is always 6. We grew up, Zuhur is 1:30, and up to date, the masjid that I grew up in is 1:30. Zuhur is 1:30. They've been praying 1:30 for the past 60 to 70 years. And then we youngsters, we got up, we were like, they say, keep quiet. This time was there long before even your mother was born, so keep quiet. And Asr 3:30. But then when we grew older in our knowledge, we begin to understand, why they fix it at 1:30. Because it's a time frame, it's a window. As you said, from this time to this time. So when they fix it at 1:30, there's nothing wrong with that because it's a window. So to answer your question, if you are in the flight and then it's a morning flight, you left maybe JFK around 9 a.m. and then you're traveling, and then in the flight you check your screen and then it says it's now 12:30, maybe you're on the Atlantic Ocean, or it says 1 in the afternoon, you know that this time window is what? It's time window for Zuhur. So you pray your 2 rakats for Zuhur, and then you pray your 2 rakats for what? For Asr. And that's it. You're done. I hope you get it. And then you combine them. So you pray 2 salam alaikum, and then you do another iqama, and then you pray 2, and then salam alaikum, you're done. That's the discount and then the flexibility that the Almighty Allah has given you. I hope you get it. And now the technologies are so advanced that on your screen you are able to see whether you are in daylight or you are in darkness. On the screen, it is there. Check it. If you are in long haul flights, it's there. You see the world map is there, and then there's a line like this curve, and then it shows you where it is daylight and where it is what? It is night. So you observe where you are, and then the flight has the technology to show you where the flight is at a particular time. So if you are doing daylight on the screen, you can see it. If you are getting closer to darkness, you can see it. So the moment you get to a place whereby you can see that you are in dark, then you pray your Maghrib, and then you pray what? You pray your Isha. I hope you get it. Yes.
Muslim prayer, for example, the whole is 1 or 3. So
No.
basically I have up until 1:30 to pray.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
So, and the time frame is that from Zuhur to Asr is the window for Zuhur. So for example, the time of Asr is that the moment you realize that the sun has started losing its heat. The heat is going down. Then Asr has come in. Up to the time where you see that the sun is now yellowish in color, then Asr is what? Is leaving. The moment the sun sets, you can see that is Maghrib. And the moment darkness enters and the stars start shining, Isha is what? Is in. So all these Muslim Pro and all these apps, they use these statements in their algorithms, in the softwares to help with to help us with the time for Salah. And you say, wow, this thing is accurate. No, they pick it from the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, because that's how the Prophet taught us. And Jibril specifically came to teach the Prophet Muhammad times for Salah. Jibril came, and the Prophet went upstairs to receive Salah, but Jibril came down to teach him the time for Salah. And then for every Salah he came at 2 different times. Every Salah except Maghrib. Maghrib he came only once. For Fajr he came, and then he came later, and then he told him, the first time that I came, that is the first window. And then the second time that I came, that is what? The closing window for that Salah. But for Maghrib, he came only once, to mean that Maghrib's time is always what? One time, the moment the sun sets, and then that's it, you must pray what? You must pray Maghrib. Allah Allah. Now let's go to the next point. وَفَرَائِدُ التَّيَمُّمِ, which is the obligations of Tayammum. Now we've seen who can do Tayammum and who cannot do Tayammum. And we've seen the situations and the conditions where Tayammum can be done. But then the obligations of Tayammum, number 1, are the intention and niyyah. The intention is very, very important. And intention in Islam is not something that you voice out. It is something that is in your heart. So for example, for every salah that you do, you must do an intention for that salah. and the intention at least is you are coming to the masjid. Because why do you come to the masjid? You come for salah, you come to learn. So the intention, but then it must be a deliberate, conscious what? Intention. I'm going to the salah for dhuhr. Inside, you know, you understand it. But then it's not like there's a special dua for intention. No, there's nothing like that. I remember back home, there was this guy who was selling some, Islamic literature, and then he came. This book is very, very important. It has all the different du'as for intention. Intention of, doing this, intention of doing this, intention for Salatul Zuhr, intention for Salatul Asr, intention for this, intention for this, intention for that. I was like, whoa. Can I have a question? Do I have a question? He said, yes. I said, what's the intention for doing the nafila after Asr? He looked at me as like, you want to cause problems here. So there's no special dua. That is the dua for the intention. The only ibadah that you do with a voiced out intention is Hajj or Umrah. After you do your bath and then you put on your ihram, you say labbaik Allahumma umratan. You say it publicly. You say it loudly to yourself. Labbaik Allahumma umratan. Or labbaik Allahumma hajjan. For that one, it comes out. But for Salah, no. For Ramadan, no. Ramadan, when we were kids, we were taught niyyat siyam. The niyyah for siyam. Nawaitu siyam Ramadan. 30 yawman. Aw 29 yawman. Illa ma mana'ani min maradin shadid. Aw safarin ba'id. Long statement. We were learning, but then there's nothing like, pronouncing your intention in the ibadah, except in Hajj and Umrah. For that, the Prophet Muhammad taught us to say it, to voice it out. So, fara'id al-tayammum, obligations of tayammum is an-niyyah, doing the intention. And then as-sa'id al-tahir, which is the pure earth. What we use to do what? Tayammum. Is what? The pure earth. What do you call it? Dirt. Sometimes you Americans, your language is a little bit complicated. Sometimes I speak and I see people's faces like, what is he saying? And I remember, no, I'm in America, you people, you say things differently. So they say dirt. We say sand. We say sand. So pure sand or pure earth or pure dirt. It must be pure. It must not be mixed up with what? Impurities. Same way, when we spoke about water, we said the water must have some qualities before it can be used for what? For wudu. Same way for what? For the tayammum. The next compulsory part or obligatory part is mashul wajhi wa mashul yadaini ila al-ku'ain. Wiping the face and then wiping the hands to the wrists. There has been difference of opinion between scholars concerning wiping the hand. Do you wipe the hand to the elbows as in wudu? Or you wipe the hands to the wrists when you begin wudu, the first washing of the hands? But then the predominant opinion is that you wipe the hands to the what? To the wrists and not to the elbow in what? In tayammum. But in wudu, you wash what? The whole hands. And then when we say wiping, understand one thing. It's not you pick the earth like this and then you... No. When you touch the earth, is that touching? To have a feel that there is what? There is some dirt on your hand. That's it. Not that you collect, and then you start wiping yourself. No. The idea is what? Is a spiritual exercise. Because as we said in the last class, Islam teaches us cleanliness and Islam teaches us to use water for ablution. But in the absence of water, Islam says use dirt. So it means that it has nothing to do with your mental gymnastics or your smartness or your psychological prowess. Because if you're going to use our gumptions, then it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that you use water, but if there's no water, find dirt and then make yourself dirty. So Islam is not about what you think. It's always about what the Almighty Allah wants us and what the Prophet Muhammad wants us. Even within that, there are no excesses. So when you touch the earth, the idea is to have a feel that yes, there is something in your hands that you can what? You can wipe your face. And wiping your face with the dirt doesn't mean that we must compulsorily see that you have a makeup of dirt on your face. No.
So it's I can do it on that entrance there.
Yes, so long as there's dirt that is clean, you just hit it and then you what? You just wipe your face.
What about the wall?
We'll come to that.
Okay.
I hope you get it. We'll come to look at the things that we can use to do what? Tayammum. But for today, we are looking at who can do tayammum and the compulsory parts of what? Of tayammum. I hope we get it. And then he goes further to say, وَضَرَبَتِ الْأَرْضُ الْأُولَى, the first contact with the earth, which is something that some of the scholars have disagreed with, because obviously you're going to have a contact with what? With the earth, so there's nothing like that. But then the Malikis go with that. And then al-fawru, continuity, you continue with it, you don't stop. So the moment you hit, you wipe the face, you go back, you wipe the hands. And there has been difference of opinion between scholars concerning how many times you're going to touch the earth. Are you going to touch it once for your face and then once for your hands? But then the strongest opinion is that when you touch the earth once, is enough for your face and then your hands. And that's it. That's how you do tayammum. You touch the ground, you touch the earth. So example, this is it. You do this, you wipe your face, you wipe your hands, and that's it. You are done. That's tayammum. That's all. There's no wiping the head, there's no wiping the foot. That's it. That's tayammum. You touch the earth, you wipe your face, you wipe your hands. That's it. You are done. Once, and that's it. I hope you get it. You touch the earth, you wipe your face, you wipe your hands like this, and you are done. That's it. That's it. That's tayammum. It's just the face and the hands.
Okay.
That's all. There's the feet is not there. You don't blow anything in the nose. You don't put anything in the mouth. It's just this. Wipe your face and wipe your hands, and that's it. So you wipe the face first before the hands. Same way in wudu.
On the floor?
Yes, you touch the floor, and then you wipe your face, and then you wipe your hands. That's it.
How about if you have pied?
What is PA?
Pied.
PA, yes. So you touch it. The idea is, as I said earlier, the idea is your hands, you feel that you have some dirt on your hands. That's it. It's not that you collect everything, no. So you touch, and then what? You wipe the face, and then you wipe the hands. And then he brings another compulsory or obligatory part is ittisaluhu bis salah. That it should be in direct conjunction with the salah. So the moment you touch the earth, you wipe your face and then you wipe your hands, is Allahu Akbar, takbiratul ihram. I hope you get it. You understand this point. The moment you touch you wipe your face, you wipe your hands, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, hayya ala salah. Yes, so no problem. You have a few seconds to come in and then you do your prayer. Yes, so yes, this my mother here is a Maliki student. The Malikis, they are, you touch the ground, the earth, you wipe your face. You don't separate your hands. You don't separate, you maintain them, you come back and then you touch again. And then you what? You wipe up to the elbows, and then your hands must not be separated. And then you go back again. This is what the Malikis say. But I'm telling you the strongest of opinions, which is
correct, right?
No, the strongest one is you touch, you wipe your face, you wipe your hands, and that's it. I hope you get it. And the reason being that, the reason why we have difference in opinion in the school of thought is that sometimes Tanti has the hadith, you do not have the hadith. So you, as a scholar of that age, what you do is you try to find the solutions to the problems. Or sometimes both of you have the hadith, but then the route that the hadith gets to Tanti is stronger than your route, so you throw away the hadith and then you don't work with it. This is another different class. So forget about what I said in the last couple of seconds. And Yes, dukhulul waqt, you make sure you do it exactly when it is time for salah. So you don't do tayammum for zuhur around 11 a.m. Even though that is also a difference of opinion between scholars. But you do it exactly when it is time for salah. And that the moment you finish doing it, it should be exactly when the imam says, Istawu, Allahu Akbar. Okay, what if I come into the masjid, I time it for salah, and then I do my tayammum. It is time 1:30. The imam comes in and says, no, I want to use the washroom. And then he spends 5 minutes. Your tayammum is still valid. Your tayammum is still valid. There's nothing wrong with the tayammum, even though that is also a difference of opinion between scholars. There was the opinion that it has the same, I want to use the right word. It has the same use as wudu, but just that it is a substitute for wudu in the absence of what? In the absence of water. And we'll come and look at what are the things that nullify tayammum. But I think I'll allow us to have some questions, inshallah. Now,
at my job, because of my condition, I can't smell.
Okay.
If I smell things, I have to throw.
Okay.
So it in the bathroom is too smelly.
No.
Every time I go to that bathroom, I throw up.
No.
So for me, it's not like I'm not. I can use water. I can use water, but it's
the bathroom. Yes.
So in that condition, I can do tayammum.
If you can get someone to get you water, and you can find somewhere where you can do tayammum, where you can do your wudu, then that's the first option that you have. So for example, you are in a situation whereby if you go into the washroom, it's going to be, you're going to throw up, you're going to mess the whole place up. But if you can get someone to get you a bottle of water, you can find somewhere where you can perform your wudu, then that is your first option. If that is something that you can't have access to, then that is when the door of tayammum opens itself up to you. So the idea is, in the absence of water, it's not that because there's no water, that is the end. No, we need to find water. And some of the scholars are of the opinion that, you go to different houses, 40 in this direction, 40 in that direction, but that's a lot of time. By the time you finish, by the time Asr is even long gone. If you are preparing for Zuhur, Asr is even long gone. So if someone can get you water, you can have a bottle of water, and then you can have somewhere where you can perform your wudu. And normally our wudu doesn't mess places up. So you can maybe perform your wudu outside, and then you have a place and then you pray. That's your first option. If that is not something you can do, then tayammum becomes an option. But then the first option is get someone to get you water, and then you can do your wudu in a place where you feel comfortable because of your situation and your condition. Allah alam, Allah knows best. Now, another question.
My second question is about Juma.
Now,
let's say I'm in my
monthly visitor.
Okay. So I can come to stay in the Masjid and not to pray.
Yes, the Malikis say that a woman in her monthly visitor cannot enter the Masjid. But then, as their student, I want to respectfully disagree with them. Because the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, during the time of Hajj, the Prophet Muhammad saw her crying. And the Prophet said, Aisha, why are you crying? She said, Ya Rasulullah, my visitor has come. That's why I'm crying. He said, oh, you don't have any problem. The only thing is, do not pray. Hey, don't come here. We are having a class. Go. Don't disturb us. Go. He said, do not pray and do not do tawaf. That's the only thing he prohibited her from doing. The hadith never says she can't enter the masjid. So that is where we respectfully disagree, with the people, with the scholars. And these scholars who said the woman who is in her, time of the month cannot enter the masjid, they are huge scholars, big guys. But then we respectfully disagree with them because of this hadith. Hey, don't come here. Go back. Go. we disagree with them respectfully because of the hadith of Aisha when she was in that situation. So for example, if you have a class like this and we say a woman is in her time so she can't come because she's not going to benefit from the class, it's not appropriate. So it is Jum'ah, she can come in to listen to the khutbah. And when it is time for Salah and then she thinks people will just be looking at her, hey, why is she not praying? You know, you women sometimes, you want to say everything. Why is she not praying? You can excuse yourself after the imam, you know, comes down from the mimbar. You do as if you're going to do or check something out. You go out, you drive your car, you're gone. There's nothing wrong with that. So she can come to the masjid, she can come and learn, she can come and visit, she can come and even sit in the masjid to get some quiet time, to get some peace. Because the masjid is a place for all these things, where maybe she's having some tough time, you know, psychological issues, just the serenity of the masjid, you know, the spiritual ambience around the masjid. Come and sit in one corner with your adhkar, with your meditation, with your thinking of the Almighty Allah. Sit, do that. If it's time for Salah and then, you know, some of sisters come in and then you want to excuse yourself, excuse them because people will look at you, you just leave, that's it. When you're done with your Salah, you come back. There's nothing wrong with that. So respectfully, I disagree with, you know, my teachers.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar,
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر
Allahu Akbar.
لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. الأوراد تام الصراط القائم وآتي محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة. اللهم صل على محمد كما صليت. So as I said earlier on, I respectfully disagree with my teachers on that. That, you know, a woman in her monthly visitor can come to the masjid, she can come and learn. She can even come and sit in a corner of the masjid just to have that spiritual ambience, you know, that feeling. And don't forget, sitting in the masjid itself is a form of ibadah. So she can do that. Because of the hadith of Aisha that we said earlier on during Hajj, the Prophet found her crying and he asked her why. She said, you know, my monthly visitor is in, that's why I'm crying. It means I may not be able to do parts of the Hajj. He said, no, you can only not pray Salah and then you cannot only do Tawaf. So when we're going to Arafah, you can go with us. When we're going to Muzdalifah, you can go with us. When we're in Mina, you can go with us. The only thing is that no salah, no tawaf. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. Allah Alam. Let's take one last question.
I see how.
No problem.
It's not question, it's like, it's something has been happening to me. It's like 2 Fridays now.
No.
The first Friday, I finished here, I was going home. So there is 2 cars in front of me. So as we were going, the car in front of us just stopped, and the lady came out from the car, and she splashed the bottle on the floor, and she opened the other door, and she was telling the other person to come out. So it was a man inside, they were fighting. So how am I going to? The car in front of me is not moving. So me too, I don't know how to move. We were just there. She was just doing everything she wanted. I said, hey God, I'm sure it's not the end of my day today.
Yes,
So the guy behind me, he managed to go. So when we all of us see him, he managed to go. The guy in front of me also managed to go. So I was able to go.
Okay.
So we left them there. The second Friday was last Friday. Also, I was going home. I was the first guy of everybody.
You know, I get it because of time. You know, sometimes having, sister circles or brother circles helps a lot. People are going through a lot of things that they need people to talk to. You know, when she said this, we saw the humor side of it. I believe she feels some peace in her heart now because she's able to voice it out. So it's very, very important that, we develop such bonds that at least we can have, a sister's, only, conversation, just talk things out. We live in a very difficult time now, especially for you women. Difficult time because we want you to be mothers and fathers at the same time. That's what the society demands on you. We want you to give birth and then nurture the kids, pay their tuition, raise them. You are clocks, you are cooks, you are drivers, you are everything. So it's not easy being a woman in the 21st century, especially in America here. So sometimes I encourage, as sisters, your quiet times that we do not have class, you can arrange and then meet here, talk things out, just discuss things and that helps. It's a lot of therapy. So we can do that. And sometimes you call us and then you tell us things not because you are complaining, but no, you want someone to talk to. Sometimes it happens. So we just have to listen. And sometimes when someone is telling you something about them, there is no need for you to have an opinion in what they're saying. Just listen and give them the reaction that you're paying attention to what they're saying and you are listening to them, you're absorbing what they're saying. After they are done, they say, thank you, and that's it. They don't need you to tell them anything. They just need you to what? To listen to them. And it helps a lot. So, and the other thing I want to leave us with, it's almost time for Salah, 4 more minutes, which is a lot of adhkar, dhikr, a lot of dhikr is very, very important. Do not allow the day to pass without you having a substantial amount of dhikr. And don't just give yourself, a limit, maybe 100 to, no. Make it open-ended. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah. Because the Sahaba say, at a single sitting, we could hear the Prophet do istighfar between 70 and 100 times. At a single sitting. Not the whole day. At just a single sitting, we hear him do istighfar between 70 and 100 times. Another sitting, we hear him do 70 and 100 times. So if the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is doing, istighfar in a single sitting, different times a day, 70 to 100 times, you and I have to do more. So it helps. You know, sometimes it's not only about our smartness and our proactiveness, it's also the grace and the will and the mercy of the Almighty Allah. Because sometimes you find yourself, you know, out of a situation that you don't understand, how did I get out of it? It's the mercy of the Almighty Allah. So a lot of dhikr will help us. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين السلام عليكم. Khairan inshallah. Hey, unfortunately, next week I'm not around. Next week I'm going to ISNA convention in Chicago.